All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Crossbar Conversations with Don and Blige, powered by the United Goalkeeping Alliance. We want you to come in, sit back, and enjoy a podcast all about goalkeeping on the pitch, sideline to sideline, and everything in between. Whether you're a coach, goalkeeper, a parent, we are exploring every corner of the position with honest conversations, pushing the culture of goalkeeping forward and opening up space for the discussions that matter. Kind of talk others shy away from, but booyah! We lean into it. No holds barred. Big thanks to our sponsor, the United Goalkeeping Alliance. We'll share more about the UGKA later in the show, but for now, let's get this party started. Here's Don, Blige, and Eric.
All right, let's get rolling on this podcast. Well done, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Don, and we're going to welcome our guest right now. Topic of conversation today is going to revolve around the GK coach versus the GK trainer. But before we get more into that, let's first speak to our subject matter expert, or our goalkeeper coach who's going to be joining us today, Mr. Michael Ammann out of North Carolina. Michael, he played at Cal State Fulton, All-American. 1993, he was goalkeeper of the year, Final Four appearance and everything. Yeah, right, Don. I agree with that, man. That's big time, especially right around now. 1993, he's on the U.S. men's national B team, and he played at Charlton Athletic from 94 to 96, then came back to the States where he played with Kansas City, DC United, and the New York Red Bulls. In 2000-2001 season, Mike was a starting goalkeeper in the MLS All-Star game. Everybody, he is now with the UNC Charlotte men's soccer program. He's the owner of 24/7 goalkeeping, Mr. Michael Ammann. Mike, welcome. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Eric. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, nice introduction there, Mike.
Yeah, I forgot a couple of those things that occurred.
Yeah. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
We're starting off with a big question.
Come on,
right to the age. Holy shit! All right.
Well, you did a lot. I want to see how fast you put it together.
You're not allowed to ask that question anymore.
All right.
I'm 54 years old.
Hey,
it doesn't matter what his age is. You are still the oldest guy here. It's not even
Darn it! I was just hoping,
Yeah. I think I'm still the youngest.
Yes.
By like 2 years.
You got
Mike are the only ones competing here for the middle ground, guys. That's it.
I'm fast approaching 55. How's that?
Double nickels, man. It's good. It's a good year. It's a good year. 55. That's good, man. Yeah. Well, you've done a lot in a short period of time. It's an honor to be with you, man.
I appreciate it.
All our ages tell us is that we have experience, right? I think it was said earlier as we were joking about that. That said, we have experience with goalkeeper coaching versus goalkeeper training. Big difference, but it's not known by many. So if we could just define what's a goalkeeper coach versus what's a goalkeeper trainer. Mike, if I could throw that question to you, please.
Oh, man. I think there's a lot of different definitions, and folks look at things a little bit differently. I had a conversation recently, and this came about, and it made me chuckle, because the comment is a goalkeeper coach is like Google Maps, and a goalkeeper trainer is your Uber driver, right? Your Google Maps, they set the route and they monitor your journey. And your Uber driver, they help you move forward day to day. And it's really relevant, right? They're two different things, but both are vitally critical to a goalkeeper's success.
Oh. Paul, what do you think? You gonna call him out on anything there? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I'm looking more of a controversial difference between the trainer and the goalkeeper coach. To me, a trainer, I don't ever want to be called a goalkeeper trainer, because to me, being a goalkeeper, a developer of goalkeepers, it's much more than that. It's about being a teacher, not just pumping balls at kids. Being a teacher, being a coach, and lastly, being a mentor. And I think that's where I kind of draw the separation. Trainers will come, and I think trainers is too wide of a band of what it includes. I think it should be, the trainers are those that come at you and hit balls at you, don't really get into your head and your spirit and the soul of the position. Where if you're a coach, what you're doing, especially when you start with young kids and you're going to have them for years. You got to be really good at what you do to mentor them and help them through the development stages. I distinguish the two because I don't think trainers do that so much. Where coaches, teachers, mentors do. You get involved. You make your goalkeepers part of your family. You want them to have success. You want them to be the best they can possibly be. And I think that's just, a separation, a difference between the two. What do you think, Mike? Is that you ever see that part of it too?
Yeah, no, I do. I see it in a few different ways, but I think some of that depends on the setting, right? The environment that trainer might be in. Mm-hmm. If they're tasked by a club to show up 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, and run training sessions for goalkeepers, their interaction is going to be limited, right? They don't watch games on weekends. They don't watch video. They don't know the development phases of the goalkeeper. They're just going based off of, hey, I'm going to set up some cones, some hurdles, and I'm going to, I'm going to hit balls at kids. So I think I agree with you. I think the coaching aspect is, I want to say, a lost art because you don't have enough time with the goalkeepers. And that's the missing piece for me. It's one of the reasons why my son and I, we focus now as a pillar on video analysis, right? Because we see so many kids that are working on the technical aspect, but have no clue when it comes to the tactical aspect. And that's because their goalkeeper trainer doesn't see what they're doing, doesn't see the mistakes they're making or the decision-making aspects of being a goalkeeper. And how do you work on that if you don't see it? I can put together scenarios, but it might be different for each goalkeeper.
I sort of see him as both. A goalkeeper coach encompasses the trainer aspect as well, because obviously we are doing the technical side of it, the coaching side of it, things like that. But I agree with you, Mike. The biggest growth in my academy has been game analyzation. And that's either people send me videos, like I'll break down a whole game video and then have a Zoom meeting with them to go over, the different elements in the game, different scenarios. And then, or they can ask me to come out and personally watch a game if it's in town, or if they want me to drive to Nashville. Obviously, I'll do that for the right amount of money. But, with a lot of goalkeeper trainers within clubs, they don't even put it in the budget. I know when I was director of goalkeeping for Chattanooga FC, it wasn't even in the budget to go watch games. It was purely me do my 2-3 sessions a week, and that was it. And players tried to give me scenarios, questions about, well, this happened, what do you think? And it's very tough to make any kind of call on what they're describing to you without context prior to and things like that. So right now, the game analysis is my largest request besides on the field stuff. So
yeah, well, and do you think that's down to if a goalkeeper coach is not present at a game, who's actually talking to a goalkeeper about decisions, about positioning, starting positions, things that happen outside of the obvious? You let a ball go through your hands. You dropped up. You gave a rebound up. Okay, great. But what are the factors that went into that? And that to me is the glaring piece. And we have really started to hone in on that. And Don, I'm glad you're doing that, because a lot of times the feedback we get from goalkeeper trainers is a lack of time. I don't have time to go and watch goalkeepers on the weekends, or it's not in the budget, or I don't have time to review video. I can't go into Huddle and to, trace and do all these things. So we actually have a system in place that makes it simple. It streamlines the process to where you can review video and analyze video and give instant feedback, or, over email right back to the player right away. Almost in real time. And that, to me, I think is a game changer when the technology starts to advance to provide that and help coaches, trainers give that feedback in a more timely fashion, it's going to help the position. And ultimately that's what we want. I'm not sitting here claiming that we are, we're different and we're better than everyone else. But what we focus on is that aspect. We want to improve soccer IQs, right? Goalkeeping IQs. We don't want robots. And I think too many times goalkeeper trainers create robots. They teach you to do something, but they don't teach you when to do it, right? The whole thing about a block, when do you block, right? There's a time for it, but we've had goalkeepers that do it, or they're making saves with their feet from shots that are 25 yards out. I'm like, well, why? Things like that just, a lot of it is muscle memory with a trainer and less understanding as to the timing of that event.
So 2 things I want to ask you about, going off your last statement with the trainers. One, is, do you find with a lot of trainers, and I've got it in my notes here specifically about this block save, K save, spread save, whatever you want to call it, with trainers, they teach a lot of niche stuff. And the parents, because they don't really know what a goalkeeper trainer or coach, what it really entails, other than if you're not jumping around like a fish out of water during training, you probably aren't working hard. So do you experience a lot of niche stuff? And you have to, when I finally get the goalkeepers, I'm like, okay, so tell me why they're telling you to do that. Give me some context here, because I'm not seeing the professional keepers do that. And secondly, with trainers, like you said, muscle memory, a lot of their services during their environments are announced. The goalkeepers know where it's going. So they look like a superstar in training, but then they come to someone like me or you that maybe works a little more in the unannounced, where it's more game-like. And now they wonder why the inconsistency is there, why they're not able to do that. So is this something that you find as well?
For sure. And, you talk about the, I'll call it terminology, right? Everyone has a new term, or they want to have a new term or a new phrase because they think they're reinventing the game, right? And I think coaching courses now are showcasing that, right? I've got to work on this because I want to be different. Why do I have to be different? Right? I just want to coach, and I want you to understand situational awareness, positioning. Why did you make that decision? But go back to ask the question, why did you do that? Why did you make that decision? And I think too many times it's just, well, that's what coach told me to do. Yeah. Okay, but again, you're not a robot. This is not, there's situations where this position is always changing. And when I say always changing, throughout a game, right? It's not that your position, yes, we have to do more with our feet now, right? But outside of that, your job is to make saves and keep the ball out of the net. And how do you do that? When do you make a decision to come? Where's your starting position? Those are all things that are coached into you, not trained into you.
Yeah, I like that.
Are there benefits to trainers?
It's a great question, and I'm going to say yes, as long as you have a coach. And the trainer could be the coach as well. In an ideal world, I have a goalkeeper in California. She works with a goalkeeper trainer 2 nights a week, and I do video with her. I analyze her game footage. We have Zoom calls. We go over the decision-making. Why were you here? What was your starting position like? And I can provide that feedback back to the trainer. And the trainer can then implement those changes or things that need to be worked on. That's an ideal world, right? If you don't have the same person that's with you the entire time. I do like the fact that she has 2 voices, right? Because not everyone takes in the one voice. I can say this when I coach my own son as a goalkeeper. I would tell him things, and sometimes it went in one ear and out the other. And his goalkeeper trainer would say something and it would click. And it was like, well, why? Well, first of all, I'm dad and they don't want to hear from dad. But also it was a different voice. It was a different way, a different technique of saying something similar. So how do you take that in as a goalkeeper? I think you have to find that. I would say you find your match. Is the trainer the right match for you? Are you getting everything that you need? If not, where can you go? And I think that's what, the United Goalkeeping Alliance is all about, is finding those different avenues, right? It's not a one size fits all. Sometimes it's a specialist. Sometimes it's an expert in one pillar of goalkeeping that you need to seek out that will help complement what you're missing.
Great points.
What do you guys see more of? Do you guys see more GK coaches or GK trainers out there, just by pure numbers? And why?
For me, it's trainers. You have more trainers because it's easier. And when I say easier, it's easier to measure, right? Okay, I'm gonna hire this person. I'm gonna pay him X dollars an hour to show up 2 nights a week because I've got 12 goalkeepers in the first session. I've got 12 goalkeepers in the second session. And that's what I'm offering to the family members of my club, right? I'm not there to watch you in a game because you have a coach. You have a head coach of the team, and that's their responsibility. That's majority of clubs, in my eyes. The bigger clubs, yes, you have a director of goalkeeping. They oversee the entire program. You have multiple coaches that are underneath of that. Right now, I work with Charlotte Independence, and I am just a trainer on Monday nights for their academy on the boys' side. And I will train their goalkeepers. My son trains those same goalkeepers on a Wednesday night. They also have a boys' director that coaches them and trains them. But he also is now showing up more on the weekends to go to games. That's fantastic. You're getting all of that wrapped into one. Not every club can offer that. And Don, you mentioned it. It's not in certain clubs' budgets. It's very rarely in a club's budget that they're gonna fund that. And then do you pass that on to the parents and say, hey, we have this great alternative. You can go to 24/7 GK and they can be your video analysts. You can go to Don Maples and get the analyzation piece. That's an option, right? And that's what we're here for, to offset. It's not to replace. And I think that's the difference. Replacing a goalkeeper trainer is wrong. You need a trainer. If you don't have the coaching aspect, you need to enhance the trainer and provide them with an alternative. That's my goal. That's my aim. That's our vision of our company, is to be an alternative, right? We can sit behind the screen and we can do the video analysis and provide the feedback through our software. We can give that to a goalkeeper trainer and it's on their platform. They present it to the player. They still own the relationship. They can have us be the eyes and ears of them on the analyzation side, or wherever they want us to sit. That's what we do. And I'll go back to Eric and I had this conversation several months ago. When I first got into it, I had in my head, well, I've got several years of experience and knowledge of the position. I think I'm pretty good at it. But I had a little bit of an ego of I'm better than other coaches at it, which is a horrible way to look at it, but that's just natural, right? And it's something that I have grown from, I've learned from, is I want to be a mentor. I want to help other coaches. I want to help goalkeepers. And in order to do that, I have to fit into their strategy. I want to fit into their go-to-market. What is it that they're trying to accomplish? And if I can be one component of it, great. If I can be 3 and do that, fantastic. But wherever I can fit, I might just be a sounding board. I might be the analyzation side. I don't know what that goalkeeper coach or trainer needs, but that's what we're trying to focus on, is how do I enable and enhance what their current offering is.
We will be back after this message from our sponsors.
Goalkeeper coaches, are you spread too thin? Are you coaching small groups? Are you coaching at a club? Are you coaching private sessions? Are you coaching in college? Are you selling equipment? Are you selling gloves? Are you running your own camps? Are you running your own clinics? Simply put, everybody, goalkeeper coaches have a lot going on, and they need at least 4 to 5 resources to make it work as a goalkeeper coach. Here at the United Goalkeeping Alliance, we're here to help all goalkeeper coaches with their development in their goalkeeper coaching careers. For $99 a year, yes, a cup of coffee a month, you will join the United Goalkeeping Alliance as a goalkeeper coach and have the opportunity to collaborate with over 175 goalkeeper coaches worldwide. You'll have an immediate connection into the collegiate game to be able to share your highlight film of your goalkeepers, in addition to the ability to recruit if you are a goalkeeper coach at the collegiate level. You'll have 24/7 online and live support with business ideas, curriculum, and lesson plan support. We will also promote your club, your academy, your equipment, and anything that you do through our social media outlets. Last but not least, and definitely an important variable, all UGKA coaches have the opportunity to earn 50% commissions on all clubs and goalkeepers that they bring in to the United Goalkeeping Alliance. If you'd like to learn more, please reach out to me, proud board member Eric Eisenhut of the United Goalkeeping Alliance, at the contact information above. Thank you for listening, and back to our episode.
And now back to our episode.
How is your relationship? Because this goes back to a prior episode that we've done with the head coach of the teams. So, like, you're telling the goalkeeper, you're giving them advice through game analysis, whatever, you're breaking down stuff, things they need to do. And then it's sort of turning it over to the head coach during the game. Like you said earlier, that's who they're interacting with at the games, who's talking to them. How is your relationship with those head coaches? Do they trust you, or do you all bump heads occasionally about things? How's that? What's that like?
That's a trick question, Don.
Yeah, you're on a block right now, Mike. We just put your head on a block.
You did.
100%. Like, this is a sensitive issue, and
Agreed.
you're an experienced person with a boat ton of experience, to Don's question, and you're struggling to answer that question. Like, what about like a 30-year-old goalkeeper coach in a club? They're going to be completely intimidated to approach a head coach. Like, I found just seeing you, like, just and we're like, we're throwing you to the wall. Like, that's unfortunately how it's looked at. Isn't, in my opinion, that's terrible. Like, and I want to get into the club ideal world versus current world in a moment, but just seeing you squirm was kind of interesting, Mike. I won't lie to you. It's a tough question. It is a tough question.
It is a tough question. It's a tough situation, and I think it's probably the biggest, or one of the biggest issues that we face in goalkeeping. And it's at the club level, it's at the college level, it's at the professional level of how involved is that goalkeeper coach. So if I'm involved with helping my goalkeeper organize set pieces, right? We've done several sessions on this. But if my coach or the head coach doesn't agree with how I want them, the players to be marking, we're at a stumbling point. And I think that's the problem, is how do we communicate? How do we interact? At UNC Charlotte, it's fantastic. Kevin and I, we have conversations. We talk about what does he feel comfortable? Ultimately, Kevin makes a decision. He is the head coach. So I have to then adapt to what it is he wants, his style. What does he want? Does he want us to play out of the back in a certain way? Does he want us to defend set pieces in a certain way? He has a history of what he likes to do. My job as a coach is to identify what those resources are, right? If we don't have the players to do that, I'm going to probably identify that. And that's where my job as a goalkeeper coach is, hey, I've recognized this. We're struggling on defending this. We're not fronting, the first ball in on a corner at the near post. Well, why not? Well, we're zonal. Oh, okay. But we're not getting beat. Well, let's look at video. We are getting beat. We're losing the flick every single time. Things like that you can then go in and point out, but it's a conversation again. It can't just be, well, Mike recognized this and I'm right. I have to have a conversation with that head coach to say, here's some tendencies, here's some common themes that we're seeing, and here's my recommendation for how we fix it. Do they take that in? Most of them will just say, you know what? Not your job. Thanks, but we're going to do it my way. Okay, fine. But as a goalkeeper coach, I still want to know what that way is, because I don't want to cause confusion for my goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you one thing on a Zoom session or analyzing your video, and your coach is saying, no, I don't want you to have that high line. I need you to start deeper. Oh, well, I've just screwed up the goalkeeper.
How does that look? That was at the college level and even the pro level, right? Those conversations occur. And even then we all know that even in the pro level, those conversations sometimes are like, okay, well, thank you. But unfortunately, through my stories that I've been told, that's what I hear. Same thing I know at the college level takes place there. Let's go to the club level. So what should that relationship be? Because typically with a director of goalkeeping, there's typically one, maybe a staff of two. So you have three people there. How do they interact with head coaches and communicate the goalkeeping lessons from goalkeeper coaching into the team environment? And ideally, that's how it should look, right? But what about right now with the culture? It's typically a goalkeeper trainer at a club. So how does that work with head coaches, if at all, do they interact?
I'll break that into two parts. The first part being, what is the experience level of the goalkeeper coach trainer? If they are young and up and coming, the head coaches are probably not going to take on a lot of input. If they are a more experienced goalkeeper coach or trainer, they're more receptive to it. They're more open to it. And that's just the nature of the beast, right? The second part that I find, and I think it's naive of head coaches to just summarize it and say, wow, you don't have a lot of experience. My son's 29 years old, and I think he's one of the better analyzers of the game and coaches of goalkeeping at what he does. Now, because he's in his 20s, does someone look at it and say, you know what? You need to calm down. Don't tell me. I'll deal with it. It's a tough situation for a coach. But I think the second part of it is you have such a discrepancy of coaching experience and coaching knowledge. Mm-hmm. Who recognizes situations? Who recognizes the importance of certain situations and prioritizes what those are in order to take it on and say, yes, that is a problem. And yes, I need to fix it. Or, you know what? Make that comment. The best coaches that I've been around as a goalkeeper coach have asked for my input, whether that's before a game, at halftime of a game, after a game, during the week, they ask for it. They may not take it all in, but at least they're asking and they're having the conversation.
You know, we have like 100 Pep Guardiolas within one club.
Just ask them.
Well, to that
just ask, they'll tell you.
To Don's point, like everyone thinks I don't want to start going at head coaches, but I'm gonna. How many head coaches know a lot about goalkeeping? So, Michael, to your point about Ari being 29, he's got a boatload of experience, in my opinion. And I think his opinion should be heard by head coaches at a club level because his experience alone dominates that of a head coach's from a goalkeeping perspective. So it's interesting to me that head coaches dismiss a goalkeeper coach's input, knowing that they don't know much about the goalkeeping position to begin with.
Listen, I've always said to head coach, assistant coach, I don't care if they've been a field player, just go stand in goal during a training session and you will have a different opinion about your goalkeeper. Just go into any training session and be a goalkeeper. They crap themselves because they don't realize, what they're faced with. But I've always wanted to do this and just I don't have the technology. I don't have the time to do it. But if I could put a camera on a goalkeeper and go through every scenario that they face in a game, making decisions. A corner, is it an in-swinger? Is it an out-swinger? Is it a driven ball? Is it a floated ball? Do I come for it? Is there traffic? Is there people closing it down? Where are my defenders? How am I organizing? Now what happens? Second balls, knockdowns, all of that in 3 seconds is difficult. Now, if I'm a head coach and I'm sitting on the sideline and my U13 girl does not come and claim a cross, and I'm going, whoa, what, coach, goalkeeper trainer, why didn't she come for that? Well, if you don't know why, you shouldn't ask why, right?
Great point. Yeah.
There's a definite disconnect because they don't know.
Do you think they want to know? Do you think they want to know even? Or is it just like something where it seems like when it comes to club level, they just go, all right, just go out there and get somebody who can, because parents want to know that they have somebody working with their kids in the goalkeeping position. So they just go out and get a trainer, pay him, but it's the coaches need to know. Like last night, I was at ODP this weekend. One of the coaches came up to me and said, you know what? I taught my goalkeeper, you're the one, I'm not going to say anything to you. You take over and run the show back there. Now, if you have a trainer, they might have had experience at a collegiate level, let's say, to experience those different situations. But now you're flipping it because now he's maybe graduated. Listen, come on next year. We need a goalkeeper. Somebody work on goalkeepers. You come on in. We'll help you get your master's degree or something like that. Now you're taking a young guy, bring him into an environment where he has to coach and become a mentor when they have not been taught how to become a mentor. They just know how to take what they experience and what they learned from their training sessions that they had, and they're just going to go in and regurgitate that. Right. It was like when I first started, I had no idea how to coach the position. I trained it a little bit, and I coached high school soccer, so I worked with my goalkeepers. But when I went to Rutgers, Bob said, "It's all yours. I'm not going to tell you what to do." I said, wow, I got to start doing something here. And all I did was I actually got Joe Macknick's book way back in the day. And all I wanted to do was training sessions, just activities, because I felt that was what was going to make me a better goalkeeper coach. Well, my second year, we had a blue collar goalkeeper who was very good. And we just brought in a freshman who was like the purest athlete I've ever worked with. And the first 3 days of preseason camp, I was training the freshman athlete phenom the same way that I was working with the incumbent, and he came into our training in preseason camp third day. Came in with Coach Rios, myself, sat down in the chair, started crying, said, "I can't train like this." So a light went off my head. I said, I got to start being a coach now. I got to start mentoring. I got to start figuring things out, and I think you get a lot of these younger guys coming out of the situation. All of a sudden, now I want to train goalkeepers. Well, that's exactly what to do. To get hired by the club. The club is meeting its responsibility. The coaches don't care. Just go down there and work your goalkeepers and come back in and train with the team. So there's so many things that have to be taken care of to get from a trainer to a goalkeeper coach, and then have that conversation relationship with a head coach where it's not separated, it's together. Everything's like, we're separating you guys. And it's not only the training session with the goalkeepers, but it's the alienation of the goalkeeper coach because they think they just have a job of getting them ready to keep the ball out of net. Maybe they'll learn tactics, maybe they won't. How are they going to deal with all the mental problems, trying to keep the confidence up? It's a very complex thing going from a trainer to a coach, in my opinion.
It is, and I can tell you through just experience, I had in college, I had the good fortune, my older brother was a goalkeeper, professional goalkeeper, played in Switzerland, played in Canada, played early, before MLS, played for the LA Heat, LA Salsa, but he was a goalkeeper coach at Cal State Fullerton when I was there. When he was playing for the Salsa, Zach Abdel from Egypt came over and was coaching the goalkeepers. And so I got to train with Zach. Zach, to me, was one of the best trainers. He would get you to be extremely aggressive in your approach. Everything about it was attacking the ball, attacking the player, and it was phenomenal for me. Zach was not a coach to me because he didn't teach me the nuances of the position. My brother helped more so with that. And when I got to Kansas City, it was, well, I went to Charlton. We didn't have a goalkeeper coach. Once a month, Bob Boulder, who had retired the year before, would come in and work with us. But it was the three goalkeepers we would just train.
At Charlton Athletic, you didn't have a goalkeeper coach. You trained yourselves.
Yep.
That's
Wow.
crazy. That's a professional team in England. That's crazy.
It is. But then Kansas City, I had Alan Mayer, and Alan was phenomenal. Alan, just a mentor on the field, off the field, was fantastic. He would pick up on nuances, was very good. When I got traded to New York, I had Phil Wedden. Right, so it's myself and Tim Howard, two completely opposite goalkeepers. But Vlad, you talk about it, like coaching and training two different goalkeepers. Phil had to train the two of us in the same training sessions, but we are completely different goalkeepers. Timmy, ridiculous athlete, like everyone knows. I was not an athlete like Timmy. I was more about being in the right position and understanding, having more of that soccer knowledge. Timmy was still young and learning. But Phil trained us, coached us in his own unique way. And it was something that I learned an immense amount from, and I still took into my current days as coaching from what Phil taught. Was you teach the individual. You don't teach the session. You don't teach the drill. You teach the individual. And if you can view every goalkeeper as an individual, because they all come in different shapes and sizes. You know, Todd Hofford and I talk about this when he had Nick Raimondo with RSL. You can't teach Nicky certain things that you would teach someone that's 6'3". It just doesn't happen, right? So teach the player, not the drill, not the session, not the game.
Regarding clubs, I have a big belief, and these two have heard it. Mike, I'm gonna throw it at you. Don's laughing already.
Yeah.
I firmly believe this, and people can call me insane. Don already has a few times about this idea.
No.
However, I firmly believe at the club level, head coaches coach 10 people, not 11. Simply because they just don't understand the goalkeeping position or the nuances that we need the goalkeepers to learn it at, like that level. I firmly believe that at the club level, there should be a head coach, there should be an assistant coach, and there should be a goalkeeper coach for every team. That includes training sessions. Meaning if we're going to train, I'm looking at your face right now, but think about this. Where would you want? Would your goalkeeper develop better in that scenario? Or would your goalkeeper develop better in a goalkeeper training situation or a current situation where they have a coach down the other end of the field working with just goalkeepers? I had the biggest impact on goalkeepers when I was coaching in the goal, coaching the actual moments of the game. And I'm helping them connect with their back line. I'm helping them with positioning and communication, and also obviously the technical bread and butter of goalkeeping. However, that doesn't take place. And this is just my theory. No one else's. That said, I'm curious as to why are we okay with head coaches being able to coach 10 players and not 11?
I think the simple answer is resources and cost, right?
Exactly. Well,
you don't have the resource. If I can sit here and look at, there's 9,000 players at Charlotte Independence. There's another 9,000 players that play for CSA, Charlotte Soccer Academy, right? Think of all the teams.
Exactly.
There's not enough goalkeeper coaches in the country that could supply the demand just in Charlotte, right? There might be trainers or someone that has gone on YouTube and looked at a goalkeeper session and says, yeah, I could train my wife to go set up cones and run a goalkeeper session, right? That doesn't help a goalkeeper. So is that ideal? Yes. If I could stand with my goalkeeper in a game, in a practice situation, and we're working on attack versus defense, whatever it is, and I could help them communicate and organize and work on their starting position and positional sense. Yes, ideal world, I get it. It's just
how awesome would that be even in a game? Goalkeepers don't have a coach they can lean on at halftime, before a game, after game to talk to. They don't. If their head coaches don't have goalkeeping experience, they have no one they can rely on.
Ideal.
Like, that's crazy to me. It blows me away how we just ignore this position.
But Eric, I don't think it's being ignored. I don't think it's feasible. It just, there's no way that you can have that many coaches. When you go to any convention, how many goalkeeper coaches are there? Are there tens of thousands of goalkeeper coaches in this country? There's no way. There's not. And if there is, they're not any good. I've seen it.
What's the answer? Hold on real quick. So you're getting to my point where I want to get at the end. So what's our answer?
The answer is education.
Bingo.
Right?
That's exactly right. So resources like yourself, resources like the UGKA can help clubs and goalkeepers learn the position that they're not getting based on limited resources.
Absolutely. So how do you get to the masses? Like, for us, we offer it up to the clubs and say, we'll do classroom sessions. We will record them because we know that your time is limited, because to try and get all of your goalkeepers in a classroom or online at the same time, very difficult. We record them, we send them out. You can view it on your own, on your way to school, on your way to training, at lunchtime, doesn't matter. We offer those things. But I think until there is more of that at people's disposal, and I'm talking about goalkeeper trainers as well, to be able to look at it and say, wow, okay, now I understand. I can take what I just saw on video, and I can apply that to my sessions, to my coaching, to my conversations with goalkeepers. And if I do show up at a game, I can have that conversation. Field player coaches, head coaches need to look at it and go, now I understand the mindset of that coach or of the goalkeeper in that particular situation.
What do we expect out of head coaches?
To have a general awareness of what the goalkeeper is going through. And I think it's not just the obvious, right? Because they all can state the obvious. Well, ball just went over their head. What the hell were they doing, right? But why? And then what is the downside of you screaming at said goalkeeper from the sideline? Mm-hmm. What is their mental, fortitude there? Are they going to take that on? How about just not saying anything and wait till halftime and say, you know what? I think you could have been in this position. We'll talk about it after the game. Just let it go. Not sitting there screaming or looking down at another coach going, what the hell's going on? Just, it's a understanding of the position, what the boy, girl, man, woman, what they're going through. It's a lot. And most of them don't understand it. And the comment was made earlier. Do they care? I think they genuinely care, but they don't care enough to take the time to learn it and understand it.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, how do we go ahead, Don? Go ahead. You go ahead.
When I do these sessions up here, we do them in Chattanooga. I've got 4-5 players that come up from Florida and South Alabama to train in Chattanooga about once a month. And I bring in some of the better local talent that I think can hang with these. These are 4 players that are region team, one step away from the youth national team and all this stuff. And I always invite the coaches. If you want to see what a goalkeeper session really looks like and what they're putting in time and what they're doing, just come and observe.
Yeah.
Zero coaches show up. And some of them live within a very close proximity to the field. They just don't want to make the time to do it. Yeah. And so I just got a text this weekend from one of the goalkeepers that was just up here right after Thanksgiving during that weekend. We worked on punching as part of our sessions for that weekend. And so she went out and she made her very first two-handed punch in a game. Got it close to being right from what the parents said, but it went to one of her players and they lost possession and they scored off of it. Well, the coach is yelling at the goalkeeper. Why are you? And I'm like, okay, so I want the context. I want the full context of what's happening. That coach does not, and I have tried to have a conversation with him. Let's open it. So he knows when I'm teaching his goalkeeper up here in Tennessee, this is what his expectation should be when she's in the games or what his knowledge should be. You don't have to coach her, but you understand what we're going over and you can give me feedback. Doesn't want it. He'd rather sit on the sidelines and yell at her for doing it, when the bigger problem is, well, the positive is she punched it probably in the right situation. The problem is your player didn't control it, lost possession, and now it ends up in the back of the net.
Yeah.
But who are we going to yell at?
Yeah, it's the easy way out, and that's the unfortunate side, and it's why more kids don't want to be a goalkeeper, right? Because of that, and that to me is the biggest issue that we face is, if you're turning kids off from playing because you can't provide them the knowledge or the resources or the confidence, then there's something wrong. And that's why I do what I do, because my number one focus in being a coach is to not have a single player quit the game or the sport because of something Coach Mike said or did, right? I want them to enjoy the experience. I want them to learn and get better. And it comes in back to me wanting to be a mentor to other coaches. I want to share that and go back to education, Eric. The more conventions and call them conferences or, whatever you want to call it, that coaches are doing. Phil Whedon's doing it. Jill Lloyden does it. There's some really, really talented coaches out there that are providing the education. I think it is a massive gap. And it's not just here in this country, it's globally, of how do we help enable that next level, the next step or next, generation of goalkeeper coaches and trainers. It's a huge miss right now. And you can go online, you can take a course and not learn a damn thing, right? It's a
piece of paper,
checking a box. Yeah, you got a certificate. Great.
I think they're making it too difficult for people to get those kinds of things too. I mean,
they are in the United States.
Yeah, you got to get one license. Now you got to wait a year, and it's not an inexpensive venture either, And because you got people out there, I see a lot of these young people around here in Jersey I work with. They say, I want to go get my license, and then they can't get in, or they go and okay, now you got to wait another year before you go on to the next level. And now how are they going to take? How are they going to keep advancing on a quicker scale if you have to wait so long between sessions where they want to learn? I think trainers, kids who are trainers or goalkeeper trainers come out. They come up to me and ask me, okay, what should I be doing here? What should I be thinking about? Because they want to learn, but they need some guidance from people to kind of know what they're doing. There are so many different cultures, especially in Jersey. There's so many different cultures of goalkeeper coaches that you go up north and you get a certain goalkeeper coach from South America. They're going to teach you to fly around, those kinds of things. You go get another one. It's a Russian goalkeeper coach. The trainers can only develop a culture so much because they don't have the knowledge on how to do it. We need to start teaching the younger coaches to start being more than just a trainer, because they don't know the difference. Head coaches don't really care about the difference in a lot of cases. Just get out there and train them. Find me a goalkeeper. That's what I get a lot. Find me a goalkeeper.
We will be back after this message from our sponsors.
Goalkeepers, what does your goalkeeping development roadmap look like? Are you focusing on all 5 elements of development of a goalkeeper? Those 5 elements are your technical abilities, your tactical understanding of the game, your physical growth, your psychological balance, and your leadership skills. If you answer no to any of those elements of development, you are not fully developing yourself as a goalkeeper. Here at the United Goalkeeping Alliance, we focus on developing goalkeepers through education of goalkeeping specific moments in the game, all while featuring the 5 elements of a goalkeeper's development. For $199 for the year, yes, the cost of 2 one-hour private training sessions, you will have the opportunity to participate in weekly live educational sessions on goalkeeping specific topics. You can also take advantage of our library of over 250 hours of recorded goalkeeping educational content. You have the opportunity to participate in goalkeeping specific mentorships. You'll have an immediate connection to college goalkeeper coaches. You'll also have the opportunity to have 24/7 online support. You'll also receive discounts for gloves, equipment, camps, and clinics. So goalkeepers, if you'd like to learn more on how the United Goalkeeping Alliance can support you with your goalkeeping developmental roadmap, please contact us at the information above. I'm Eric Eisenhut of the United Goalkeeping Alliance. Now back to our podcast.
And now back to our episode.
Lodge, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's the point of a coach's license?
Yeah. Well, supposedly to learn the game so you can implement the procedures in a common philosophy into developing and training, your players.
That's theoretical, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But actual is what? To check a box and to say, look, I've accomplished this.
Yeah.
I'm qualified to do this or coach at this level. Means nothing.
I agree.
If there's zero, I don't see to me, a value in going and getting a license would be what you're taking on and how you're helping them implement what you learned. Are you a better coach coming out of it? I beg to differ. I think majority of coaches are no better off than prior to taking a coaching course.
Yeah,
so something is wrong with the courses and
the same thing like at the convention. When you go to, they bring in some good guests and some good presenters, and I go to a goalkeeper session, and it's just okay. Here's a way to work on cutbacks. Okay, so everybody sits there, takes notes, but then they have thousands of questions. The way I would ever do it, if I ever did a field session at one of these at the level one of these conventions are, I would take a simple session, maybe just a little shot stopping cross distribution session, and I would start teaching the people in the stands how to do it. I wouldn't just say, here, this is another way of doing it, and not let them understand what the nuances, the details are involved with the activity. I would have them to teach the goalkeepers that are with you, but teach the coaches, because that's what they're at. The questions they're asking, because they don't know. There's a huge disconnect. I think more head coaches should go to the goalkeeper sessions at the conventions. It should be a requirement for them to go to one or two of them just so that they start seeing. When I was in PDA, when COVID hit, we couldn't do individual, our goalkeeper training, because if one kid got sick in the group, then it would affect the whole club, because you're working for all different age groups. I felt that was, for us at PDA, was a tremendous opportunity for the goalkeeper coaches there. What we could do is go behind the goal now in the team sessions. We didn't have the kids separate because they couldn't, but now they're still training the team environment. Well, I got to know the coaches better. I got to know their philosophies better. Then they started asking me, okay, what should we do in this situation? How can you help us with defensive organization? I was just bringing it up because I'm a defensive-minded guy, obviously. I would be pointing to them, there's gaps in the back. Your outside back is way deeper than your center backs. You're not staying connected. You're not communicating, And then after a while, they started saying, okay. So to me, that situation, as drastic as it was, gave me the opportunity, and Lubash and Chris Cherry the opportunity to get to know the coaches better and start having an influence on what the club goalkeeping is supposed to be doing, instead of just going off and training. But that's a kind of like a unique situation.
But if your session at a conference is not tailored to including field players of some form, a head coach is never going to go want to watch it, right? They're not going to want to watch us put on a goalkeeper session that's working on cutbacks or, shots from mid-range or 1v1. They don't care, right? It's how does that affect me as a coach, and how do I then learn something from what that session presented?
Yeah, great point.
Until we have it. And I'm not saying that you replace the goalkeeper sessions, but if they add more to that, to where it is meaningful to a field coach, then you would incent them to go.
I got two things. I know we're about to wrap up for a moment. One thing about the education, as somebody that's with the Federation coaching staff, we have made it entirely too hard and expensive for coaches to want to go get their license. Now, to get a goalkeeper C, you got to have a C license. So we're basically removing grassroots and low and D-level coaches from even getting any knowledge about goalkeeping as far as going to the course. Does it make you a better coach? I got my own feelings about that, and that would be a no. All right. Maybe the classic courses we were actually on the field did, and we were out there going over things. Sitting in front of a screen does not do it for coaches. That's not where they train. Second, real quick, don't you think it would be advantageous to clubs to want to have a quality, high-level goalkeeping development program? That would be an incentive for coach players to want to come be a part of your club. But they don't look at it like that. They do it for field players, but for goalkeepers, it's like, oh, just put them over there with some kid out of college and knock a ball around, and that's about it. Would I be wrong?
You're not wrong. I think, to me, it's part of recruitment, right? You want the best players to come to play for your club. Therefore, you go and get the best director of coaching, the best, if you have the best DOC and they're educating downward, then you're offering something to the players. You're offering something to the parents. That's where I say there's so much more that we could be doing, clubs could be doing, that they're not doing. But at the end of the day, they look at it as it's a numbers game, right? How do I generate more money? If I can generate more money and revenue to my club, I'll consider it. If it's just a nice to have, I don't care, right? It's all about the bottom line. And why do clubs have CEOs now? They are corporations. They're not just a club. It's a corporate world that we live in soccer now. And unless you have someone that's making those types of decisions, and that's what they're doing. I've got a CFO now that makes that decision. This doesn't make sense to our profit and loss here. So we're not going to offer that. Is that the best for the player? Probably not. No, I would say no. But that's the decisions that are occurring nowadays.
I 100% agree with that too. I believe that the cost versus goalkeeping development is looked upon as a cost and not a player opportunity to get better. And I think clubs fail us in that regard. That said, Michael, I know you have about a minute or two. I want to give you final words before you leave. We're going to stay on and talk about you for a little bit, just so you know, so you won't see this part until the actual release of this session. However, you do have the last 2 minutes, Michael. Go right ahead.
Listen, I can talk goalkeeping all day, every day. It's my passion. It's been my life. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and join you guys. It's been fun. The beauty of it is we have different levels of experience and we have different opinions about different things. That is soccer, right? That is goalkeeping. There is not one way to do this. And it's a matter of finding what works for you as a goalkeeper, what works for you as a coach, as a trainer, as a parent. I was a goalkeeper parent and learned a lot from that aspect of how do I deal with players. I think I'm a better coach because I had a kid that was a goalkeeper, because I can talk differently to the players now than prior to him becoming a goalkeeper. So always learning. They joke about it. We're like fine wine, right? We get better with age. I agree with it. It's experience and it's learning. I wish I could go back in time and play again with my soccer brain now. It would be fantastic. So hopefully the players that we all coach are taking this on and learning from it and saying, yeah, I want to leverage the experience and apply it to my game.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I'm not a fine wine. I'm a bourbon barrel aged imperial Russian stout.
Yeah. 60 years in a bourbon barrel. Mike,
I'll meet you in that barrel, Don.
Yeah, I'm already there. It's at my house, Mike. It's at my house right now.
If I'm in Charlotte, I'll look you up and we're gonna have.
Absolutely. I will be I'll be in Philly if any of you guys are going.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see you there.
Okay.
Great talking with you, Mike. Thank you, man. Good guy.
Yeah. What stood out?
Well, I don't think there's a majority of things that he said that we haven't talked about and I basically agree on.
Yeah.
I thought it, and maybe I read this wrong, but I thought him making sort of the distinction between a trainer and a goalkeeper coach, what they were, and we know they're different, but it almost felt like to me the coach couldn't be the trainer as well. Did you pick up on that?
The trainer.
Like we teach them the how or the when to do it, what to do, not the how. That was more the training. Is that what you took from it, or did I hear it all completely?
I think you might have said that's the only thing trainers would communicate to that would be like that how, like, here's how you do it. Like not the why, not the like the education around it, but more or less we're just gonna to the point, like we're just gonna hit balls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was sort of my point. Whenever I thought the goalkeeper coach can encompass being a trainer as well, as in serving balls and activities and stuff. But we're so much more than that. Where the trainer is just here. Let's just go knock some balls at you and give you some new terminology that sounds great, and this niche stuff. So I probably read it wrong. That's what we're like.
Yeah, I think what we got to get across to trainers is that if you're going to develop yourself into a coach, then you've got to get the knowledge. You got to get the education. You got to understand that you have to help these kids develop the whole part of the game, not just a certain part of it. That's what the UGK with the 5 pillars. We're all about that. Okay. That trainers don't know how to incorporate all those factors into developing of a keeper. They just get out there and give them the workout. And be honest with you, that's a lot all the coaches do. When I was down coaching with the women at TCNJ, all right, you got 15 minutes, Blodge, to be with the girls. 15 minutes, and then they're coming at you. Okay, so I had to just get it out. To me, that was just being a trainer right there because I had to do technical stuff to get them warmed up and ready to go. But then the best part of it is when I got behind the goal and started teaching them about what's going on in front of them, what to look for. That now you become the coach and the mentor. So yeah, we're trainers, but we always take it to a deeper level. Like just even last night, I'm all about teaching in sequences. Okay. Last night I presented a very simple sequence to 4 players and they were messing it up left and right. They weren't concentrating on the details. They didn't stay within each moment because they only want to do the grander thing, like the foot touch, the catch. They don't even care about the distribution back to a server. You know what I'm saying? These things have to be incorporated when these kids are developing. You can't wait.
I don't think they want to get in the weeds.
Who's they?
The trainers. I don't think they want to deep dive into what the position is either because they don't really know or they don't want to be invested that deep in. Right.
Yeah. My advice to a trainer, I like you're both right. In my opinion, I think you're both right. I would advise trainers to go to a game of a goalkeeper whom you work with.
Yes, Greg, exactly.
And then from that game, just start to analyze their performance. And then what could you bring to your training session to impact that one goalkeeper? But you need to be able to understand the game and the nuances in the game to be able to then turn and coach it. And I think that goes a long way. One thing we didn't talk about, I want to pivot. Oh, good, Don, go ahead. Before I pivot, I want to get what you were going to say.
I want to ask both of you because I had this wrote down after we went through the conversation and the question struck me. This is what I didn't get to ask. Do you see a benefit following off your questionnaire or a detriment to having two, one a trainer and one a coach? He said that it was better to have a trainer if you didn't have a coach, right? Or you had one off to the side, like he's got the kid in California. What if you're in the same town and the kid's working with a trainer at the club, but they've got you also as a trainer coach as well? Because I'm butting heads with these guys on some stuff, and it's confusing the goalkeeper. So do you see it as a benefit or a detriment for a kid to have both in the same town? That's the qualifying part.
I'll jump on that because I deal with that, to be truthful. I'm very big on goalkeepers being with and learning from as many goalkeeper coaches as possible, because then it's up to them to figure out what works for them. And we spoke about that in our session today, like Nick Raimondo and trying to teach someone who's comparably in the 6'3". Like there's a difference because they're two different goalkeepers. They're going to take what they need for them and move forward. I think if I'm teaching a kid in my town, I'm going to speak to what I see. I'm going to ask questions too. Like I'm big into asking my goalkeepers a lot of questions to get them thinking. But if I'm in that mentorship role and I'm coaching them, and I then need to know exactly what they're going through, what they're looking at, and why. I also need to know a little bit about their goalkeeper coach and what they're being asked to do at their club, so I can kind of help and mold as opposed to combat. Um, I have a hard time with kids with what you just said, Don. But my other coach says this. I get that question a lot. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Like, let's talk about it. Like, why would he say that or she say that? And then what are we doing and what are we saying here? And then what's the difference? And then what would you take out of it as what you do? And I kind of leave it at that with them because I don't want them going back and combating with their goalkeeper coach at their club because that's just going to lead to bad attention between me and that club. So to make it somewhat of a collaborative approach, I just asked that goalkeeper a ton of questions about why and what they think, and then what would they take from that, and then what conversation might they want to have with their GK coach next time they see him.
I see it more on with these particular players. The standard is not the same.
I agree with that.
And I'm
why do you think
constantly
the standard's not the same? I agree with you, by the way. I see the same.
yeah. When I get them back, I'm like, you're right. We got to fix this, right?
Mhm.
Dropping balls all over the place. You're doing it, because that's not the standard over there. It's just blocking shots.
Yeah.
So that's Okay. Pivot.
What like you go like say with we three, okay, or a guy like Mike, and the many more high quality teachers at the position that they are. It's the same thing that you're saying, Don. These kids go off with their high school, like they came back from high school, and we had to like retrain. It's like that's to me is the problem, is that we don't have enough. Even within your own county, you could probably have all sorts of different philosophies of how people want to run the goalkeeper position and get them ready for games and stuff like that. But that's even inconsistent. What you might want to do, what we might want to do, Eric, is different. Maybe what I want to do, I'm going to teach it this way. I think it's right. Now they got to go spend it over here with Don when you're at games, and Eric, they come back to you for a session. It's like, if we're all three, if we don't have some type of consolidation of where we're going with this whole damn thing, then you're going to have all these everywhere. That's a culture we're trying to build, especially through the UGKA. We're trying to bring people in and talk to each other, listen to each other, come up with some common ground. It's going to be impossible to get common ground for everything, but there's certain things we get a common ground for. So now we start building a bigger family with it. Right now there's too many different, I got to do it this way, I got to do it that way. And these kids go to experience it sometimes, and even at the national level. They go different coaches at the national team level. They're teaching different things. It's very confusing for a goalkeeper, and then now a trainer. How are they going to adapt to all that with all these different things? They don't know what to do. Well, now I got to come up with it. How do I do it? Why do I do it? That kind of thing,
We will be back after this message from our sponsors.
Hello, clubs. What is your goalkeeper culture like? Do you have 1 to 2 people that just does it all, where they're down the other end of the field running a goalkeeper training session? Maybe they're helping a head coach out in a team training session. Maybe they attend all tournaments and games and give in-game feedback. They help with individual development plans. They help in the recruiting initiative. Simply put, they can't do it all. Here at the United Goalkeeping Alliance, we're here to be your supplemental resource for all things goalkeeping. We start with education. We will help assist in the goalkeeping development through educating your goalkeepers on goalkeeping specific topics featuring the 5 elements of development: your tactical understanding, your technical abilities, the physical growth of a goalkeeper, the psychological balance, and the leadership skills needed to be a great goalkeeper. We have over 250 hours of recorded content for all of your goalkeepers and coaches and parents to take advantage of. We offer mentorships for both goalkeepers and goalkeeper coaches. We offer lesson plan support and curriculum support for coaches. If you'd like to learn more about the United Goalkeeping Alliance and how we can help your club get to the next level with your goalkeeping culture as a supplemental resource, please utilize the contact information above. This is Eric Eisenhut of the United Goalkeeping Alliance, and now back to the episode.
And now back to our episode.
Let me throw this at you. What we didn't mention this today, and I'm bringing it up now, but what about parents? Like, what would we advise parents to do if they see their clubs only providing training, but they're selling coaching? I see that a ton.
Yeah.
Way too often. Like, oh, we do this. What's it really? Oh, we see him once every 2 weeks because he's has college games that he has to coach at, or in the spring he's got some other commitment. So we work with him once every 2 weeks, maybe. Like a lot of broken promises on my end from clubs that I see. So how do we, in my mind, how do we educate parents to ask the right questions and also to understand the difference between a coach and a trainer? Because what they see, and Don, you mentioned this earlier, they see kids flying around. They're like, that's where I want my kid. But they're not learning. And I believe learning and education from a goalkeeping perspective is so important, because if you could be flying around making all these great saves, but if you don't know like when to apply it or why you're doing it, you're kind of like a rudderless ship just kind of being pulled with the tide. So that's kind of a question to me, to you guys. What about parents? What would you say to them? How would you guide them?
Well, I have this actually in my notes pre-show. We didn't really touch on it much. So almost 100% of the time, when a parent decides to contact me, they're like, "Hey, I was giving your information, da, 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 da." They're amazed at that initial contact, how many questions I ask about their kid. How many questions I ask about their kid. What's their experience, their goals, who's their prior coaches, da, 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 da. And I always tell them the very first session I do, if we end up doing a session, is an evaluation. Now, it's still training. It's not free, but I'm evaluating whether your child, number one, am I the coach for them, right? Are they going to be able to handle the expectations I'm going to set for them? Am I going to meet their needs, right? And so when they drop them off, usually I get them, work them hard.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
And that opens up the door for me to go, what do you envision the goalkeeper training, coaching to be? And they look at me like I just asked them, describe fully Einstein's theory of relativity.
And they don't know. They don't know how to answer that question. Like,
so they describe an environment with a lot of shots, jumping around, nothing about technique and why the technique is applied here. What's your footwork? I ask the question, what's more important, your feet or your hands? And they go, oh, your hands. I go, no, your feet. If your feet can't get you to the shot, your hands aren't going to matter, right? And so they're amazed at this. So then, after a few sessions, they start to make a little sense in comparing what the environment was before to what the environment is now, right? Because I'm going in and I'm doing some corrective coaching on some things. I'm telling them why, when, as much as I can based on whatever we're talking about, whatever we're teaching. I think you can tell parents. I don't think they can conceptually figure it out in their mind what it really looks like until they actually see it done. And that goes for head coaches too. They think training is this, then they actually come and watch, which none of them do. And they go, it's mind blowing. So
that's exactly why the head coaches look down to us and blame us for something that's happened. They don't know how to incorporate the goalkeeper into their sessions so that the goalkeepers are learning what their tactics are. I always tell my goalkeeper to say, listen, you got to get so good enough of your technique so you don't have to think about it in a game. You got to start learning and reading the game. And then you got to be able to learn and adapt to different head coaches' tactics. If these kids are going through getting worked out by trainers, they're not preparing them for the next level of what they got to think about, what they got to look for, how to prepare for it, So it's always about this is how it is in the game, so you got to think about these things. And the thing I was going to bring up when Mike was with us is that one of the biggest problems is we've got so many kids who want to be goalkeepers, but we have so many people working them. They have no idea about what it takes to be a developer of the position. Okay. We develop. Trainers just work them. And the trainers, I think, have got to start understanding that. Maybe that's part of our education. We got to get to the trainer and say, hey, listen, man, you got to learn about the game. You got to get these licenses. You got to start learning more about what you're doing instead of just putting through motion, because they come into a game and they have no idea what they're doing. That's what that made TCNJ. I always had good, technically very good goalkeepers there, but they didn't know the game. so I had to teach them the game. That's when they became good,
Going back to Eric's point about parents, do you want your parents to hang around and watch Eric? I almost don't. I mean, just because now
I have no problem either.
Pressure, parent may want to, which I always want to do. I don't know.
Here's my response to not only to that, but here's what I'll say to a parent when trying to figure out, do I have a goalkeeper coach or do I have a goalkeeper trainer? After this session, in the car, ask your child these questions. What did you learn today? If they can't answer that question because they're just flying around, we just worked on top hand parry saves. Oh, they were flying around. Great. When would you use that in a game? How would you use it? Like, if you can just break it down into try to figure out, is this a game scenario that they're learning? Do they know the block save? We can always use that. If it's, great, you learned the block technique. Fantastic. When would you learn that? When would you use that in a game? Like, if they can't answer that question, you got a trainer. If they can tell you, like, here's the exact moment we were training today with that block, and here's how it would start and how it would result in this taking place, you got a coach. And I just, that basic understanding of utilizing it in a game, to me, is crucial. And if they don't know the why, you got a trainer.
I think if you break it down to the very simplest definition of the difference between a trainer and a goalkeeper coach, the trainer doesn't know the why.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they don't know. They may not know the why or the when.
What was that, Don?
They may not know. They won't know the why or the when to use it.
Yeah. Or they don't communicate that to your kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't emphasize that as part of their learning in that session.
See, part of the technique that we teach, we've said this at camp, is not only to make a higher percentage of saves, there is also a safety element to the technique. So we can maybe decrease the level of injury that a kid's going to get. You're not going to stop kids from being injured. That's going to happen. That's inevitable. But maybe it's not as serious if they use the technique at the right time to protect themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
The trainer doesn't understand that either.
No, it's interesting. When I ask kids, I said, okay, I see them. I said, you have a goalkeeper coach at your club team? And they go, yeah. I says, well, what's the coach's name? They don't know who the goalkeeper, who's working with them. And I go, don't ever forget my name. I tell them, and I bust their chops that way. But it's like, okay, to me, that's also a difference between a trainer and a coach mentor. They will remember you because a mentor gets into the deeper part of who you are as a being, to be able to develop and maximize your potential for doing something, whatever that is, and whatever level that's going to be. You got to help those kids grow and develop through that process. These ones who don't get that help are behind, regardless of how good they are as a shot stopper. They're behind in so many factors of the position because, keeping the ball out of the net, being technical is important, but the tactics, the psychological aspect, the social aspect, the leadership, the communication, all that stuff, it comes more from a mentor or a teacher of the position instead of a trainer. Trainers would just do it generically, in my opinion.
All right, final words, and then we'll get out of here, guys. Don, final words?
No, I enjoyed meeting Mike. And it's so far the people that we've had, even though we do have differing backgrounds in some respects, it's good to see that the most knowledgeable people that we've spoken to, which have all been knowledgeable, not to diminish anybody, often see things the very same way, what the issues are, what needs to happen. So it's good to have that collective feeling that we're all in the fight the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well said. Paul?
Yeah, I agree with you, Don. And it's one thing I'm enjoying about these conversations are meeting people who are at a high level, but they are saying the same things that we're feeling and thinking. But it just helps me as somebody who's a teacher of the position that I'm on the right track, or I have been on the right track. I made the changes and stayed up with the position in the game. Because the ones that don't stay up with it and don't listen and take part in these kinds of things, search for the answers on how to do the things outside just the technical development. those are the people who are not going to be successful as mentors. You can see the problem. And Mike even said, how many goalkeeper coaches do we have? I mean, quality goalkeeper coaches do we have? And how many goalkeepers are there in the state? In the state alone, Jersey, there's probably 30, 40,000 goalkeepers. Now, I know they're not getting trained properly or coached properly. You know what I'm saying? So it's a uphill battle. And I got to be honest with you guys. This is the way it was 50 years ago when I got in. Same thing.
Crazy. How about Mike not having a coach? How about Mike not having a coach at Charlton Athletic?
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That blew me away. That blew me away.
Yeah.
Like, what? So how does a pro goalkeeper get coached at a pro level with no pro coach? Like, that was nuts to me.
Yeah. I was the same. I was writing notes when he said that. And I remember my pen sort of went,
Yeah.
like, what? You can see it. I was writing and I had to mark out what I had because I was missing a mistake. It's like, what? So,
that's great. It was a good session, man. Very good session. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. My final words are Mike, awesome guy. I've known him for about 10 years. He's phenomenal at what he does. Incredibly humble. That's the other thing I've noticed about all of our guests have been, even though they're at the highest levels, they're crazy humble. Like hearing Mike say, like, I knew it all. Like I was the best. And then, like that's not at all true. Like he came right back and corrected himself and was like, I needed to learn more. I need to understand how to become a better coach. And it was all the guests we have, I think, are like that. And I think it's huge. I love hearing that. One thing too, Don, you asked about parents at sessions and attending. I like them there because you can educate them too.
Yeah, I'm the same.
If you can educate the parents, then their conversations with their kids are a little easier on the car ride. But then they'll also then be able to not dictate. They'll be able to point out who's a trainer and who's a coach based on their own experience with what they see with me and their learning. So that's just my perspective on that. Lastly,
I'm always afraid you're going to give them just enough information to be dangerous.
Let them be dangerous. Let them go back to their club and nip them in their heels. Like that's awesome. I want that. They'll start coaching their kids now. They're like, oh, well, I'll listen to Coach Don and Eric or John Blodge. I can tell you what to do. Well, here's the thing. As Michael made it apparent, there aren't enough goalkeeper coaches out there for the ideal world, right? Like
yes.
That was stated. That said, it's all about education. Whether it's a goalkeeper, whether it's goalkeeper trainers who want to become goalkeeper coaches, whether it's head coaches learning more about the goalkeeping position, everyone is in a position to learn more about the goalkeeping world. And I can't stress that enough. That's what we're here for. Like that's what the United Goalkeeping Alliance and our 5 pillars of our elements of development are for: technical, tactical, physical, psychological, and leadership. You know, are you teaching your goalkeepers that? We expect our goalkeepers to communicate and lead in certain situations, yet we don't train them or teach them that in a game or in a team setting. You're not doing right by them. Anywho, guys,
I'll ask you a question once we end it.
Yeah. All right. Guys, thank you for today. Awesome stuff with Michael. Until our next episode. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Great stuff, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us at this edition of Crossbar Conversations with Don and Blodge, powered by the UGKA, United Goalkeeping Alliance, the #1 virtual learning platform for goalkeeping in the world. That's pretty cool. We take the whisperings of goalkeepers from underneath the crossbars and we bring them to you in open and honest conversations. There's nothing about the position that we won't talk about. Looking forward to all of our conversations that'll be upcoming. You, as a goalkeeper, have chosen the most difficult position to master in the game. But remember, it's the best position in the best game in the world. Special thanks today for joining us with Eric Eisenhut, the founder of the UGKA, for offering his insights on what the UGKA is all about, as well as sharing his knowledge about the position and his passion of what he would like to see happen with it and what we need to work on. Thank you very much, Eric. It was great. See you next time. Crossbar Conversations with Don and Blodge. And we appreciate it very much. By the way, if you would like to offer your suggestions on different topics for us to talk about, feel free to contact us through the email address that you see at the upper part of the screen. That's info@unitedgkalliance.com. Once again, info@unitedgkalliance.com. That's it. Look forward to seeing you next time. Had a blast. Thank you.